Okay folks, strength training, really important. As anybody who's had a cancer diagnosis, we all need our muscles, we all need to be strong. Here's how we start. It's with a little thing called a resistance band, also sometimes called a TheraBand, which is a brand, but it's a thin strip of stretchy material. Some of them have latex, you can get some that don't, depending on what you need for your hands. But these are incredibly helpful for starting to build or rebuild our strength if we're going through cancer. This is a place to start. We need to progress, and I wouldn't for a minute think that we could only use a resistance band for the rest of our lives. We need more than that, but here's how we start. Here's how we start to get stronger again. So I've already warmed up my body. My joints and my muscles are warm and ready to move. I'm going to take, this is a medium weight resistance band. You get different thicknesses. You might want to start lighter. I'm starting with a medium one, and I'm going to wrap it around my back to come under my armpits to here, and then with my elbows wide I'm going to straighten my arms and come back in. Okay, so from the side it looks like this. We're going to do 10 moves today, all but one involve this resistance band. And if we're doing this, we're trying to do maybe 10 repetitions of each exercise. So you want enough resistance so that you can definitely feel that your arms are moving, that your muscles are having to move, but this does need to feel manageable, especially when we're first starting out. So the idea with all of the moves that we do in this routine is that we're going to do 10 or thereabouts. And we're going to learn to adjust the length of our resistance band so that our muscles have enough work so that by the time we're getting to 10 they're starting to feel tired, but that 10 is manageable. Okay? I'm really bad at keeping count, so I have to go on how my muscles feel, but sort of now this feels like 8, so I'm going to do 2 more. Okay. And then I'm going to move on. So you should feel that in your biceps. You might feel it around the chest muscles. I'm going to stand with one foot in front of the other this time, just so I feel more stable. I'm going to start with my hands around shoulder width. I'm going to have my band here, and I'm going to pull down. And as I pull down, I'm going to pull my hands apart. Okay, so the hands are going slightly in a diagonal action rather than staying the same distance apart. The hands are a little further away from each other as we lower. If you can, stand tall, keep your back long, keep your neck long, try and keep your neck relaxed. Don't want to be hunching the shoulders up. Okay, so gently bringing the band down, but as I say, widening the grip as you lower. And just like with all the other moves, if this feels too hard, just make the band a little longer, make the gap between your hands a little further away, make the band a little more slack, and it will feel easier. And likewise, if you're breezing through this, try it with a slightly shorter band so that you get more resistance. You're going to feel this on the inside of the arms, across the shoulders. If you've got really good posture, you might feel your tummy muscles working to support you in doing this too. Okay? And one more. And then I'm going to let my little shoulder roll a minute I was feeling almost a little light burn in the shoulders because those muscles were moving. So I'm just going to let the lactic acid seep out of there a moment. I'm going to change my stance to stand 1 foot with my feet next to each other. I'm going to stand very firmly with the ball of my foot firmly on the end of my band. I'm going to hold it to here, but with my thumb, so my palm's facing towards my back, my thumb's down. I'm going to stand tall, I'm going to gently hold my tummy muscles firm, and I'm going to lift the band to shoulder height and back down. Now this can be quite a tricky move, so make sure that this feels manageable. It's the top half of this move where the work is, because as you can see, my band is really slack here, but we're lifting the arm just to shoulder height and back down. Okay. So So my intention is this routine would be suitable for almost anybody, as long as you have not been advised against exercise. If you're in any doubt, have a quick word with somebody from your oncology team just to check. But these moves are deliberately safe, deliberately cautious at first as a means of how to start. Okay, should be starting to feel some build up here, some tiredness, and maybe across the arms again. So I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to change side again. Make sure you've got the band very firmly under the foot. Stand on it quite firmly, and then thumb down, and we lift again to shoulder height. So there are all sorts of guidelines on how long after surgery we need to wait before we start resistance training. It's usually a handful of weeks, but if you have had surgery for your cancer or indeed any other types of surgery, do please check in with somebody from the surgical team just to make sure that we're good to go. Okay. So again, just lifting the arm to shoulder height. You should feel some drawback from this, some pullback almost from the band. That's the idea. We're using our arm against this resistance to challenge the arm and shoulder muscles. Okay, and when we've got to 10 or so, or a sense of tiredness there, we're going to take our band and we're going to dangle it down the middle of the back. I'm going to work my right arm and I'm going to use my left arm as an anchor. So in this move, my lower hand isn't going to move. I'm going to engage my tummy muscles again. I'm going to stand tall and I'm going to draw the band right up behind the middle of my head in as much of a straight line as I can. Now, if you've had breast surgery, this might feel a bit challenging. What I would encourage you to do, because what we're trying to do, two things at the same time, we're trying to work these muscles here, the triceps, and we're also giving ourselves a good stretch into the armpit, underneath the armpit, almost to the upper part of the ribs under the armpit as they go around the side. So this should feel manageable. If you're finding that you're going over here with the band, then let's try it without any resistance first and work on your what's called your range of motion. So we want to be able to do this without any challenge before we then add resistance here. Okay, so don't put yourself into discomfort, it's not worth it. But if this feels comfortable, then it's quite a nice movement for doing a couple of things at the same time. Okay. When we get to 10 or enough, we change arms, and again, anchoring the band in the small of the back with the lower hand. So the lower hand stays still. The upper hand, the upper arm is what's doing the work here. Okay. I'm going to count 2 more, which should take me to my magic 10. And then a shoulder press. So again, we're going to stand on the band, and again on the very end of it to give ourselves as much length in the band as we can. I'm going to have the band coming down in front of my arm, and with my palm facing forward, I'm going to take the band here and take it right above the head. Okay, big stretch. Again, standing tall, tummy muscles are held firm, not too tense, but just holding yourself as if you're standing up tall. Stretching above the head. If you want to use your breath to help your muscles to work, we would exhale as we exert. So in the example of here, breathe out as you push up and breathe in as you come down. Okay. Just as with the tricep press, if this feels uncomfortable to take the hand all the way up, then again we could do this without resistance to get used to range of motion, or we could be looking at a move like this which allows part of the arm to come forward and up rather than this push all the way up, because for some this can be a challenging move after surgery, but it is one that we want to try and get towards and to reach if we can. It's worth persevering with this one. Change sides when you need to. Worth persevering because this is quite a functional move. If you imagine having to get something from a high shelf, having to put something on a luggage rack on a train or when you're travelling, being able to take resistance above the head is quite helpful. When you're doing this, by the way, try to only be using the muscles that we're targeting, or the limbs rather. So we're only using our arms here. Sometimes I see people kind of rocking when they do that, and that's doing other things. We want, for now, to be focusing on asking our shoulders to work. Okay. When we've had enough, we move on. I'm going to do the next one seated. You could do this standing, but what we need is something to use as an anchor for our band, and I'm going to use my feet. I could have used the door handle. Didn't want to turn my back on you. But whatever you need, it could be a piece of heavy furniture, something you can wrap the band with round rather. But what you want is your band. If you're going to sit, you want your band over the arch of your feet and not on your toes, because if it's on your toes it could ping off. Okay, we're going to sit tall, we're going to roll the shoulders back and keep them back, and then we're going to row. So it's just the arms moving here, bringing the elbows close to the ribs and squeezing between the shoulder blades. Okay, now again, pretty much with all the moves we do, we're trying to keep the back straight and we're trying to keep it long. We're trying to keep the shoulders back and we're trying to keep the neck relaxed. You don't want to be doing this. You don't want to have your shoulders hunching, and you definitely don't want to be rounding your back. So, good posture, nice firm row, but again, only using the arms. Occasionally it would be tempting to rock forwards and backwards, and that will use other muscles. That will use your core. It will use what's called your hip flexors here. But today, we're trying to just use the arms for this little upper body sequence. Okay. And again, just waiting to get that sense of tiring in the arms. We're using quite big muscles here, so if this doesn't feel challenging, just try taking the hands a little further down the band so it's shorter, and now have another go. Okay. And then if this is a standard row, for want of a better term, what we could also do is something called an upright row, and that works the back, the shoulders, and the muscles around the ribs quite differently. We're going to use one foot in front of the other, so the foot front is our anchor this time. We're going to hold our hands near to each other, so they start close enough that your thumbs would meet, and then we're going to draw the band right up the middle of our front. So we're taking the elbows first. Sometimes I see people do this, and it's not that move, that uses different muscles. Elbows travel above the wrists. We hold the hands relatively central, coming up the front of our body, so almost as if they were both, imagine using both hands to do a zip. It's that kind of move. And again, we're standing up nice and tall. Okay. Let's have two more. We're then going to use the wall. So we're going to go to a good bit of wall. We're going to stand with our hands, we're going to stand so that we are arm's length away from the wall, and we're going to place our palms on the wall at shoulder height. From there we're going to go up on our tippy toes, and without any bend in the hips or the back, we're going to sink our face towards the wall and then push into the wall to come back up. Okay? So this is what's called a wall press It's the gentlest way of doing a press up, and it's where we start. Okay, as I say, push into the wall as you want to come away from it, and don't allow any bend in your back. This is a really useful movement. It's working my chest muscles, my arm muscles, some of my upper back, but also my tummy and my lower back muscles, even the muscles through my hips actually. They're having to stay engaged and taut because they are helping me not bend my back. Okay, so this does a lot more, this exercise does a lot more than it might seem initially. Okay, so again, this feels towards 10. I'll do one more for good luck. And then we have 2 more moves. Last time we do seated, you could have, other than the wall press, you could have done all of this sitting down if you need to. I try to stand whenever I exercise, if that's possible, just so that we're on our feet for extra bone density points, but all of this could be done seated if you need to. So again, I'm standing firmly on the end of my band. You need quite a slack band for this, it's harder than it looks. I'm going to bring my hand right out in front of me, I'm going to sit tall and I'm going to raise my hand to shoulder height. You don't need a lot of resistance for this, it's fiendishly difficult to do this. But the control, you can see I'm gently shortening my band because it's not giving me enough resistance at the moment, but we want enough resistance so that we're feeling the shoulder work at shoulder height. We don't need to take this high at all, it's a relatively small move. Okay, as with so many of the other moves today, if your back is tall and long and you're holding your tummy muscles, they will be working with you to do this. Okay. Couple more. And then we go to the other side. I'll do a side view so you can see. So from here and up. As I say, it doesn't need to be a big move at all, just to shoulder height for today. Okay, and then finally we have a move called a chest fly. Really helpful for the front of the shoulders, pectoral muscles across the chest. If you have a PICC line, if you're currently having chemo, all of these moves so far are perfectly safe. If you're in any doubt, have a quick chat with somebody from oncology, but they are deliberately, I've chosen these moves to be safe. This one is 2, but we don't go too far. So we're going to take the arms really wide. We're going to think about muscles here, and you don't want the band around the back of your neck, by the way. Drape it across the back, kind of around the crook of the elbows. We sit tall and we squeeze our pectoral muscles, or muscles that are kind of here. We squeeze and make a movement from there that brings the arms round. Now, as I say, it's perfectly safe if you have a PICC line, but can you control the movement so your arm doesn't come too far back? Okay, if you're not currently modelling a PICC line, or a port actually, because people with ports are often quite cautious about this movement, which is fair. If you don't have either of those going on right now, you could take your arms right back, and it gives you a really nice stretch as much as anything across the front of the shoulders. So do whatever feels right for you today, but if you want to give yourself a good shoulder, front of shoulder stretch, chest muscle stretch, it's going to do that at the same time. And we spend so much of our time sitting, reading, texting, that the chest muscles here can become quite shortened as a result. So getting something in that inadvertently stretches across the chest can feel quite nice. Okay, so this is chest fly, and I think we're getting to about double figures. So, last one. Okay, so simple introduction to upper body strength training using just a resistance band. Well done.